But it's mellow madness, because you will ask yourself the question, what were they thinking about, the angry man, when they did what they did? And then you got to ask the men, what are they thinking about, the angry man, when they allow the behaviors of some of these modern men?
What do you do for a living?
He's a skyscraper.
Say again.
Oh, man.
Say again. He does what?
I say he's a skyscraper. That's what I said.
What does that mean?
Well, let's just simplify it. He puts elevators into buildings.
Hey, baby.
Hey, what's up, baby?
Hi. So, I have a question.
What's that?
So, I was shopping today and I was wondering if you could buy me the new Gucci purse. It's beige, colored, big, it's gorgeous. Leather.
Babe, I can't afford that.
What do you mean you can't afford a Gucci purse? See, this is what I'm talking about. You cheap as hell.
Leave me there.
What do you mean leave me?
Yeah, cut me off. Break up with me. I'm cheap, right? Why even with me? If I'm cheap. Matter of fact, I can save a lot more money without you. Break up with me.
And wait for more red table talk and more entanglements and no more entanglements. No more entanglements.
Will, grab your balls and leave, partner. She keeps emasculating you in public, and she is making us all look bad and foolish. This is beyond bad.
Hey, y'all. All right, so listen. So I put a post up, and it was a post of a young man wearing a t-shirt. Y'all remember the post? If you don't, go back and look at it. But I'm about to read it to y'all, so y'all don't gotta do all that. Okay. It's the t-shirt says, your mama is black, your sister's black, your grandmom's black, you're black, but you don't want a black woman. To be honest with you, I don't agree with that. And I'm gonna tell you, this is why. I don't think black men don't want black women. You understand what I'm saying? I think black men are tired of arguing with black women. I think they're tired of the bashing, of them. I think they're tired of toxic, bitter, and miserable black women. We got to be real onto that. It's not that they don't want to deal with us. They don't want to deal with our mouth, our attitude. They don't want to deal with the stuff that comes from previous relationships that has nothing to do with them. They don't want to deal with the disrespectful kids that y'all got. You feel what I'm saying? Because they shouldn't have to deal with that. Because on the flip side, we don't want to deal with stuff like that. But last week, black women was just saying that they wanted to get a rich white man and be like Eve. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut up. Okay? Y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Women sit on social media, you sit around, everybody killing everybody, but you never tell the truth that it's been 1,000 shootings and homicides trickle back down to you running your fucking mouth or you calling somebody and exaggerating because you feel disrespected. Stop calling people. You get in an argument with somebody on the block, that's it, leave it there. You call your brother, now these niggas going through it the whole summer, and then somebody's child die about it. That's your fault.
I'm tired of America, so I'm hitting Richie on the net. I got the tickets, that's a bet. We need the link, my brother set it up. Damn, I didn't had enough. Ooh, I won't lie. Can I get a little shake with them fries? My skin tone is matching your eyes. Black men, we like them thighs.
I'm telling you the new wave that's about to happen, though. It's already started, but you're going to hear about it more. Men are starting to pay for surrogates to have their kids, so they just take their kid, live their life, don't pay no child support, nothing like that. That's a new thing. It already started in Europe. I already know a few boys that's doing it in the States. Yeah, because if I got to pay you 50 grand to carry my child, but then you sign over the rights, I sit there and take care of my kid the way I see fit. The government ain't involved, nothing. I walk away, my seed continues, lives on. I don't got none of the headache.
Word? Strap in, y'all. This is going to be an episode like you've never seen. I'm the Travel OG, and I traded in my Hollywood lifestyle for the sexy beaches of Pattaya, Thailand. we're bringing you exclusive interviews. The Travel OG.
This is the dude that hooked me up with the brothers in Thailand. That's Mike, a.k.a. the Professor.
Okay.
Let me tell you, this guy, now when you come, this is who you talk to. You dig?
My man. What up, guys? I always say I have the best subscribers and supporters in the game. And this is just another example. I get people that write in and tell me they're coming and they want to meet up, and I'm usually so busy working and editing, I don't even have time to return a lot of emails. But this guy, Malcolm, rolled up on me when I was having lunch with Elle and Vitaly, and he told me something that changed my life. He said, I came out here because of you, Travel OG. You inspired me to book my flight to Thailand. I was speechless. There's a responsibility that comes with that. To know what I'm doing out here in Thailand is affecting people in the world the way it is humbles me even more. Although I only got to see him once, our meeting is having a lasting effect on me and how I think. He later went to Phuket and showed me so I can show you how it's on and popping again out there. We'll get to that later. Malcolm even came with us to the golf course to watch a Caddy of the Day episode, and after that, we sat down for a late lunch. And the knowledge and wealth of information he had blew us all away. He broke down the reason why women do what they do in Thailand. At first, he was saying DR had everything Thailand had, but later on his story started to change. He sent videos of how his Thai lady was treating him too. The lifestyle, the culture. He explained to me things that I didn't even know. Come have a seat at the table with us and hear what Malcolm had to say. And then y'all write in and let me know if y'all agree. Is he right? Is he wrong? Or does he make a whole lot of damn sense? Let's check it out.
You know, the more kids you have, of course, they can chip in. Yeah. That's pretty much your retirement plan. Right. They don't have, their system is not set up that they work 30, 40 years and then have retirement and that comes in. Your kids is your retirement. Right. So from a female perspective, it makes sense for the woman to go to the city. For the men, if you notice, there's not too many Thai men that are locally. They're like more doing like fish jobs, certain cities where it's factories, a lot of factory work, stuff like that. That's why in that area, if you look at Pattaya, you're going to see way more women than men because the men jobs are not in Pattaya like that. So now when you look at it, right, like I asked the old girl who I'm staying with right now, I was like, okay, you're 42, you got your brother who's married 37, no kids yet. The other sister's in Australia, she's married. That's the one who's sending money to their parents now. So it's like they rotate. So you ask yourself, okay, what happens if you don't have any kids? And she said, then you have to work till you're 70, 80 years old.
No, he might want one. I'm good.
This is what you call a water market. They roll up on you and sell you whatever you need. Anything from Buddhas to water to beer.
This is a good one.
So do I want to work till I'm 70 or 80, or do I want to sit down and find me a man who's going to help support and take care of me, and then all I have to worry about is the house? They will take the house any day of the week versus having to work to 80 years old, barely making 18,000 baht a month, which is like what, $500-600? That's the average. So what is the alternative? You need to sit down and have a man. It's like, it's actually a necessity. It's not like I want. It's like, no. That is the priority, right? So because of that, and because the women out here outnumber the men, they are way more aggressive to try to get you. The women, they're all raised the same way to take care of you. They're all raised the same way on how to take care of a man because it's in their culture that way. When you look at the economy, how that is, they don't have a socialist system and they don't have a capitalist system either. So it's like family is everything. Like that's your survival. So it's like if you don't make family a priority, that's it. You know, everything you work into, you can't work no more. And then hopefully you got some friends that help out. Because of that, the women are held accountable to how they are and what they bring to the table. Because, I mean, if you don't make your man happy, he has way more other options. So they're going to do what they need to do to keep you.
You did make some good points. But how does somebody who's never been here have all those answers? Had me thinking in slow motion.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Now here's the other part, me living in Germany for a while. Japan is running into the same problem as Germany. So their economy is just strictly socialism. That means everyone puts in, everyone has equal. It's not like, you know, you work to get all this money and then you keep it. No, the more you work, the more they tax you. They make it spread out. So, but because of that, if you look at Germany, Germany has the biggest economy in Europe, 4.3 trillion. But they lead Europe in poverty amongst senior citizens. So, because they tax you about 40 to, you know, 51%, depending on your status. If you're single, got kids, you know, your demographics. They give you a letter every year that says, hey, if you retire today, this is how much money you would make. If you retire 30 years from now, 35 years from now, this is how much you'll make. The problem is when the wall came down and Berlin had to be built back up, Germany retracted and said, hey, we promised you this amount, but now we can only give you this amount. So you have a lot of women now who they are making, say, 2,600 euros after taxes, which to them is good money. Now they may only get 1,200 for their retirement year. So your whole standard of living just dramatically changed. You have to downgrade. So statistically speaking, if you're not making over 60,000 euros, which in America, the average woman needs to make 70,000. To actually be on her own, she needs to make at least 70,000. When you add up over a lifetime of working, it's roughly 2.4 million. Just to say like, hey, I don't need a man. You need at least 70. The problem is it's only 9% of the women in America actually making that money. So the other 91%, it's all cap. So Germany is starting to figure it out. The problem with Germany is the LGBT community movement grew a lot in the last 5 years. So when you look at the more that grows, the less kids are being made. Germany even pays you money to have kids called Kindergeld. You get what you call Elterngeld too, which gives them 67% of their salary for up to 3 years to stay home and take care of their kids. Women in Germany had that security, be it in the social system. When I went back to Asia, the system don't hold the men accountable. The women has no recourse. This is why foreigner men is in. Foreign. She also broke down to me about how a lot of men are home and their women are out working and bringing money. There's a YouTube video out where you see this one-time man married to 8 Thai women. He doesn't have a lot of money. What? No, look it up. Look up the video.
So why do they want it? For his earnings?
He is very kind and very honest. Like he tells them like, hey, I have 3 wives or I have this scenario. Like women over here, it's not necessarily care about that you have multiple women. It's that one, you're honest up front, you're nice, you're kind, and you can still provide. Yeah, see, Thai man with 8 girlfriends living in the same house. Yeah, and then some of them are nurses, some of them are dentists. Like, they actually bring in more money than he does. Because when I saw it, I was just shocked. Yeah, that's him. That's him with his 8 women, same house here. But they just say that he's nice, he's kind, he's considerate.
สไปค์ครับคนนี้นะส.1 นั่นนี่น้องแอลส.2 น้องแนนส.3 ฮะมะปางส.4 แพรลี่ส.5 น้องหมวยส.6 น้องฟิล์มส.7 แต่ไปเรียนฮะก็ยังไม่มาอยู่ลพบุรีของน้องไมค์ส.8 ครับผมองค์ดำโสรสฮะเป็นชื่อฉายานามในการเปิดสำนักสักยันต์มันก็เป็นเหมือนครอบครัวทั่วไปฮะก็คืออยู่ด้วยกันเหมือนพี่เหมือนน้องช่วยกันทำกินอะไรอย่างเงี้ยฮะช่วยกันทำกินช่วยกันดูแลครอบครัวเหมือนทั่วไป
ความรักอาจารย์ก็ให้เท่ากันอยู่แล้วเพราะว่าก็เป็นเมียเหมือนกันค่ะแล้วก็เราก็มีความสุขดีไม่ได้มีความทุกข์ร้อนใจไม่ได้ทำให้ใครเดือดร้อนคือทั้งหมดนี้คือเราโอเคจะอยู่กันแบบนี้ค่ะ
Theme music. Zoom to Thailand. Hope you coming too. Richie Mack, travel OG with celebrity interviews. Get your passport, let's go. This is what you need for sure. Brothers in Thailand and bikini babes at the beach. If you need more, he got it poppin'. Caddy of the day, we golfing. Really ain't a better option. Time to travel. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let's connect. Richie Richie Mack. Yeah, we steady vibing, take a journey, let's get moving, cause we zooming right to Thailand. Hey, Richie Mack, travel OG, let's go.
Here's the thing, something that I remember Richie said before in one of his videos. Since a lot of the women here support their families, if you come in and you take care of the woman, you become the hero.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because think about it like this, right? If the average family income is, say, $500, right? And you make a couple of thousand every month, you can still live good for, like Teddy here say, what, less than $2,000? He can still sit there and say, hey, babe, here's $300 for your family. He looks like the hero. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then what is he getting for that $300? She's loyal as hell. Why? Because she's accountable to her family. And to keep that coming in, she has to do right by him to keep that coming in. So it's like, it's literally like one needs the other.
So that's why Doodle's so good to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, y'all. You dig?
About in relationship and legacy. And as a clinical therapist, you know, the last stage in psychosocial development actually is centered around ego integrity versus despair. Ego integrity says more or less that I've done everything I need to do to carry on the legacy for my family and my children. But despair is when you're on your deathbed, when you're more or less gesticulating mentally about the pain and the peril of not living your life at its fullness. And, you know, I decided to do what I'm doing as a clinical therapist to empower men, because I don't feel that men in America, especially men of color, but all men, are getting the proper outcomes that are needed to help them become sustainable. Amira, you talked about the terminology called help me. When a man gets a very feminine woman, she becomes a vibration for that man, an oscillator, to say the least. And when that woman is oscillating her femininity, that man becomes the best version of himself. But the caveat is that most men in America don't get that, because some of our women, not all, are Western women, come into a relationship expecting to be served instead of ready to serve that man. And because of that, there becomes a chasm in the relationship, because both parties are not on the same page. And so, you know, I tell men to go where they're celebrated versus being tolerated. And you know, I think a lot of American men are doing that because most men feel like, in the contextual framework of America, that America is not a viable commodity for most men. So they don't see it as something valuable, in my opinion. You know, the lady, Dr. Helen Smith, wrote a book called Men on Strike. And so the ground is fallow. The ground needs to be broken up. But when you have caustic policies like feminism that have more or less destroyed the fabric of the minds of so many men are more or less taking their time before they enter into a relationship, because they know once they enter into that relationship, it can be very deleterious to their soul, mind, body, and spirit. So in theory, is marriage a good potential, good option? Yes, I think marriage is a beautiful idea.
I do too.
But the current climate that we live in, I don't feel like many of our women are wife ready to more or less meet the needs of their husbands. I think, you know, American men are excellent. You know, I came back from Brazil doing some anthropological work and touring. And in other countries, the women are conditioned to serve their men, and they respect their men. And, you know, I love the analogy that you gave about him being the pilot and she being the flight attendant. And, you know, the co-pilot concept is not bad either. But the problem with most Americans, they tend to do things based on the egalitarian construct, which is a westernized thought. And because of that egalitarian construct, many men are jousting in relationship with their women. And so in olden times, under patriarchal cultures, there was no such thing as jousting. When women came into men's spaces, they remained silent and they listened and respected those men. But so many of our women say they want chivalry, but patriarchy is a byproduct of chivalry. Men determine the
Can you repeat that one more time,
Mr. I said, yes, patriarchy is a byproduct of chivalry. And so men determine what they determine to be a prize. I hear some of the women say, oh, I'm the prize. But no, you're not the prize. You're the prize if he deemed you to be the prize. Amir, I created a term called the prize catcher. And the prize catcher more or less says that, similar to in the gospel, where the bride prepared herself for the bridegroom. So the man is the prize catcher. If he sees an inherent worth or value in that woman, he will catch her and make her his prize. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh.
Oh, goodness.
But the problem there with so many women that come into relationships, they come in thinking that they're the prize and that they're doing the man a favor, which in essence, in cultures from the past, women knew that they had to serve a man in order to get the ring. The ring was synonymous that she was wife ready and she was willing to serve her man. But unfortunately, in the current confines of America, we don't have those safeguards in place. America is more of a gynocracy or a matriarchy. And because of that, many men have been conditioned to become subjects of their women instead of demanding power, which has been a detriment to their minds, in my opinion.
Whew. Wow, you got the fire. Like,
wait, I need like an amen, like soundtrack, something. I need something. JR, we don't have an applause. We have to get something here because that is.
Thank you, ladies.
But you know, I was expecting nothing less because every time you come on, you always come. Look, my hair is already messed up. Even my hair got messed up. Wow. Okay.
Well, right. Because, you know, men want to be inspired, you know, and I don't live by the zodiac, but I'm a Leo, by the way. So, you know, my motto is fire for your mind. And so men want to be inspired. You know, I tell women when they give men feminine energy is so contagious. It can take a man to his highest height when she's genuinely feminine. The problem is that we have something, Amira and Miss Barrett, called the chameleon effect. Many women come into these spaces, they're not genuine, they're chameleons. And so they have never seen masculinity like yourself. You were more or less trained in a patriarchal culture where the women respected their men. And sadly, in many of those patriarchal cultures, and I'm not advocating violence, there's a penalty for being out of line. You know, so many women get offended by the word submission and obey, but that was a mandate of the gospel. The book of Titus said, wives, obey your husbands. That's the gospel. But some women say that they are Christians, but I'm like, how can you be a Christian when the gospel is very clear about where it says obey? Obedience does not mean that a man abuse power. It does not mean that. I'm not talking about men that abuse power or use their wives as, like, be quiet, shut up. That's wrong. That's an abuse of power. But I'm talking about she's willing to work with her man to help build not only a legacy, but she's willing to work with her man to help him become the best version of himself. You know, in the African-American community, Teddy Pendergrass said that you inspire me. And so when men are inspired, they're at their best. But when that man is around a feminine woman, it does something to his psyche, but also to his body, which in essence make him productive. And so I tell women, Amira and Miss Barrett, that women have more power than they really know if they're really genuine. Delilah knew about it. Delilah got the strongest man to tell him his secrets because she used her feminine graces. Even though she was deceptive, she was able to use her feminine demure and charm to get the secrets of the strongest man in the world at that time. So women have the power, but you must be genuine in your approach because men become broken when they're impacted by a woman. The imprint of a man is a woman, but it happens to him mentally. A man is most vulnerable when he's been imprinted by a woman that he thought was genuine, where a woman is more vulnerable when she's pregnant. When she's been impregnated by a man, she's very vulnerable. Well, men are vulnerable mentally. And so once those men realize that what they had in their head is not the truth, they go through what's called a catharsis or what we call red pill rage. And then it starts the 5 stages of grief. And many times men vacillate between denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So they go to this catharsis over and over again, and many don't get the help that they need, which in essence turns to an implosion, which becomes an explosion. And that's why you have so many men that are angry, using very terse language in these spaces because they're angry. And so some say, well, just get over and heal. Well, you can't heal when you've been told a lie for so many years. You know, men are conditioned to think women are sugar and spice and everything nice. But when they come to that great conniption, it does something very damaging to their mind, you know. And so it's almost like the Madonna whore complex, you know. Men see women as beautiful and great, but men are beginning to see that women are just human. They're just human. Nothing more.
Yeah, the delusion is going away. The illusion is going away. Like there used to be before where women were these soft, feminine things, and honestly, they played the part as well. They didn't act out of that character, but now we see that women are exposing themselves for what they really are, and just I don't know if it's the problem of the internet, because maybe the internet is just too tempting for women to just turn on the camera and expose themselves as the worst of the worst.
Right.
Well, maybe before, because we didn't have the internet, it was all kind of hidden and it was secretive, and it was only if you knew somebody who knew somebody, you had to go through an alley with a door you had to knock 3 times. I don't know, but it's just, yeah, I understand.
Well, a lot of it's negative socialization and negative conditioning. You know, it's a constant battle between nature and nurture. And so American men have been conditioned to be subjugates to women, you know, since, you know, they you know, there was a time when men had standards, but men now just take anything. And so what the internet has done is given a lot of women a false perception of what their worth is. They think that because 100 men are in their DMs that they are valuable, but no, many of those men are simps, or many of those men just want to have sex with you. They're not really taking you serious for a wife. You might find a few, but the men that want to be your wife, you don't see them as worthy. And so it's giving these some of our women, not all, shout out to the good women that are good, great, but it's giving them a false sense of superiority. But then they come to a great conniption when they realize that some of those men or those 100 guys in their DMs just want them for sex. And so I think a lot of times women have a struggle with understanding that a man can have sex with you, but it doesn't mean that he wants you for a wife. And that's the big difference, in my opinion.
Because women think the same. They think that men think the same. I'm coming to you, Rebecca. I'm sorry. Because women, we think that men think the same way that we do. See, if we want to have sex with you, it's because we have an emotional attachment to you, and we like you, and that's why I think women get it wrong, because men don't think that way. Go on, Rebecca.
Right.
Yeah, and I also would say that the sexual liberation movement here in the West didn't help much.
It didn't, right?
At all. And then if you look at it, you see men going towards pornography more because, like, if you think about it, back in the day, you probably see one naked woman, a couple naked women in your lifetime.
Right.
Now you have access to all of these women, any flavor, any type of thing that you want. And then on the flip side, society is telling women, go sell yourself. You can make all this money. You can do all of these things. You can have sex with whoever you want to. And that's just okay. And to me, that those two things right there is killing us inside.
Yes, right. I totally agree. Cultural desensitization, like in the mirrors culture, and actually at one time in the Black community, women covered up, and it was done for a reason to keep men in line, because men are more or less engaged through the eye gate. And so, but when that man found out the woman that he married, when they got married, she took her clothes off, she was curvy and curvaceous. He was like, kapow, because I didn't think her body looked that good because she was so covered. But now men are so desensitized to, naked bodies that they're not, they don't see it as a big deal,
Yeah, and in fact, they think that, oh, well, I've seen better bodies online, and now my wife, look at my wife's body, and it's not as good as the Instagram models. Yeah. Right. And so
I think the feminist movement and the sexual liberation, because there was a time, Black women were very conservative. They didn't tolerate some of the things that you see in America. Black people at one time were more conservative than, I would say, any other ethnic group of people. But, once they got indoctrinated into liberal schools, they began to take on some of the same machinations of those predecessors, those schools that they went to. And I always tell our sisters in love and being genuine that Black men and Black women were mules of the same cause. We were all part of the same cause.
Really curious.
Right.
The benefit of a man getting married in this modern age that we're living in, with the climate, the family court climate that we have going on right now. What is the benefit aside from legacy?
Oh, I see your point. Right. So based on the current climate, there is no benefit. Really, there is no benefit. It's a benefit in our heads, but there is no benefit because, the lady Dr. Helen Smith talked about men on strike. There is no benefit because the rules are not congruent to the needs of men. The rules actually punish men. You got no family divorce. In certain states, if a woman has a baby that's not that man is made to take care of that baby. Yes. Very caustic child support laws, tend to be very detrimental to men. And so based on that and based on the current condition and the current structure, there is no benefit for men to get married. It's no benefit. Sadly, not all, but a lot of our women have been hurt by bad guys. And because they've been imprinted by negative men, then many of them are bringing in trauma from dealing with bad guys that lied to them or hurt them. And, so sometimes it becomes a conniption when you get an average guy when you've been so used to dealing with bad boys. And a lot of times what happens, Amira and Miss Barrett, is that when women get into relationships with stable, normal men, they become bored. And many times they become so bored that they initiate divorce. Remember, 70 to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. 90% are by educated women. So I would say there is no benefit because men are putting their lives on the line, which in essence can lead them to suicidal ideation. And so there is no benefit for the modern man, based on the laws. Now, some would argue we'll get a prenup, we'll get a non-state binding marriage. Well, whatever. But just based on the current kaleidoscope, there really is no benefit. Do I believe in marriage? Yes. Do I think family is important? Yes. Do I believe in community? I believe in all of that. I think marriage in concept is beautiful. But based on the current laws, there is no benefit for a man to get married.